Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 209 of the TheSixthAxis podcast. As usual, I am your host, Kris Lipscomb. Joining me this week is the beast incarnate, Kev Adset. You right, Kev?
Hi, yeah, thanks.
And also with us this week is the macho man, Peter Willington.
I'm macho man.
And also, he's had one of those operations that removes his larynx, which is why his voice is...
Did that actually happen in the end?
I don't know, it was your larynx, so...
It was my larynx.
I was just making a remark about your impression, rather than...
you guys do it. I didn't ever watch Macho Man. I'm not young enough to actually remember Macho Man. Is it Macho Man Randy Savage?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, I think he's dead.
Is that his name?
He's probably dead.
Is he dead now? Oh, I feel bad.
Rest his soul.
Most of those
I knew the Savages quite well, so I really wish I'd been updated on that.
They must be devastated. Mr. and Mrs. Randy Savage? Or was it Mrs. Randy and Mr. Savage?
I now pronounce you Mr. and Mrs. Randy Savage. Oh, for God's sake, is Hulk Hogan still alive?
Hulk Hogan is alive, but a racist.
Oh, what? Wrestling?
Come on, wrestling.
What's going on with wrestling?
The Rock's still good, right?
Is anyone even slightly shocked that Hulk Hogan is racist?
Oh, well, I'm massively shocked. He was always telling me to say my prayers and eat my vitamins.
Did you not see Mr. Nanny?
Was he racist in that?
This is directed to Chris. Like, it just seemed like such a nice guy.
I know, it seems like he's a proper crazy guy.
How about The Rock? Is The Rock still nice?
Yeah. The Rock was on Raw like 2 weeks ago and talked to people in the crowd who were a little bit crazy about how good the weed in Miami was.
Cool.
So anyway, this is the podcast. Welcome. Hello.
Podcaster Jim Manos, hello. Like no one else loved.
Hello, Jim Manos. Thanks for listening.
Hello,
I think we're just slowly driving our listeners away. I mean, I can't blame them, if I'm honest.
It's attitudes like that, Chris, that turn the listeners right off.
Yeah. Come on. Get with the program.
All right, yeah. Come back, listeners. We
Get
love
some
you.
pep in your step.
Why are you not saying hello? You should we record on Thursdays at 8 o'clock UK time. Come say hello on the Twitter and that at TSA Podcast. We'll give you a shout out. All of that. It'll be lovely. It'll be lovely. So big changes this week in Peter, you're no longer of Pocket Gamer fame. You moved on last year. What is your new employer's called? I can never remember.
So they're called Auroch Digital.
Yeah.
We're a wonderful team making the best games ever. And I'm the producer there.
It's lovely.
Congrats.
Well, it's lovely. It's amazing.
It's all lovely.
I get to go into work. I have to put trousers on these days.
Oh, I don't know if that's so lovely.
Well, it's pretty fun. I mean, I used to
just the concept of trousers.
Well, I mean, it was weird to begin with. I used to do Twitch streams sometimes. I'd have like a full shirt. Sometimes I'd go over the top. I'd have a full shirt and a tie on, but no pants on.
With no pants on, no trousers.
Both.
Oh, right, fine.
I just sit there and just be like, it doesn't matter. No one can see.
Just make sure you never stand up. Like, I've just got to go get the door.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go and get the door. Oh, my butt, my fine ass butt.
And that's how that's how Pocket Gamer has so many subscribers.
Yeah.
Can we just go back to ass butt?
It's all left over from your days, Peter. The word spread.
My butt days.
Yeah.
I wouldn't use the word spread in that.
But yeah, it's true. Yeah. So
but yeah, no. So, shall I do some really sickening plugs and stuff like that now or later?
No, I've got a lot of bit in. It just says "Pimpin' Ain't Easy" in the show notes.
Oh yeah, Pimpin' Ain't Easy. Yeah, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll look forward to that, listener.
You can tell us all about these games you're working on.
Coming up on tonight's show, Pimpin' Ain't Easy with Peter Willington.
Before we talk about all that, it's time for the news.
Pretend there's a news jingle here, because there's no soundboard still.
Oh, Kev.
Hey?
Sort your life out.
What do you mean?
Like, make the soundboard work.
Well, it's hard, isn't it?
Is it?
No, but I haven't done it.
I like how you just pulled out of that immediately.
Immediately back down. No, I changed my mind about it being hard. It's fine. It's easy. I'm just quite lazy. So
last week's podcast, we lied to you. There was a tweet that said Peter Molyneux was retiring and all that.
Yeah.
His Twitter account got hacked. He's not retiring.
Oh, that's a shame.
In fact, he did the opposite of retiring. And, like last February, he was like, I will never talk to the press again.
Yeah.
Yeah, he talked to the press.
Cool.
Well, you'd have to, wouldn't you, to tell him that you're not retiring?
No, because he just tweeted that he wasn't retiring. But he then gave like a full interview with Pocket Gamer, I think. Not Pocket Gamer, Eurogamer, that's the one.
Yeah.
Too many sucks a gamer in the name. That's why we don't do it. TheSixthAxis, no gamer there, easy. We get confused with people who sell gyroscopes a lot, but beyond that, it's fine. So he's not retiring. It was all a lie told by a hacker. But we were all very willing to accept it, right? We were all just like, yeah, probably should.
He's getting on.
It's getting on, and you're just kind of like, I would be fine if he retired at this point.
Yeah, he's getting on. He's achieved quite a lot. He's quite clearly, in the public eye a lot, and sometimes quite negatively, and that must drain you after a while.
Yeah,
he's made his money. To be fair, if he bowed out now,
that's true.
Be like, yeah, I get it, Molyneux, mate.
I mean, many would argue that he's on the slow, inevitable decline portion of his career now.
He's doing interesting stuff in free to play.
He's doing 22 can stuff, which is something that we wanted to talk about, actually. So after last week's lies with it, Goddess, I think it's Goddess was going to get pulled. In fact, the exact opposite has happened. And what? Goddess Wars is available on Steam Early Access, which is the multiplayer part of Goddess they always promised us. Yeah, so if you already own it on Steam or you're a Kickstarter backer, you can get it for free, and everyone else has to pay like £11. Yeah, £11, €15, $15. So they have to pay that monies to get it. But all
those different currencies.
Yeah,
seems unreasonable.
It's just inconvenient. I mean, actual cash, you just got to mail it to him.
Yeah,
it's in case he needs to leave the country in a hurry. You can't get it changed. So the downside of this was in a story that Eurogamer were reporting that although it is a free update to existing Steam owners and Kickstarter backers, you have to pay $5 if you want to get access to the second continent in the game, which I believe the first continent is. Let me see. It says it in here somewhere. Oh yeah, so you did have to pay. Sorry, but they've gone. Oh, we just we probably will cross, or we'll make it free instead. So that was their response. They seemed surprised that people would be cross.
It's weird that they didn't learn about that when they first released Goddess, and it was basically a free-to-play game that you had to pay for.
I mean, to be honest, I could have told them people would have been cross. People don't like it when you're like, oh, do you want that extra bit of the game? Give us some money, please.
I mean, you can see the rationale.
Yeah, well, it's like we gave it as a free update to all these people. It'd be nice to give us $5 so you can play, like, more of it. But no, people were very cross. And so they seem to have backed down surprisingly rapidly. Almost
testing. It was a joke. He passed the test. It was a fun joke. Bye. Sorry. Bye.
Which I think, on the one hand, it's good that they have recognised there that, like, yeah, this is going to be a PR nightmare. Let's just back out of this immediately. But on the other hand, have some foresight.
Well, it's also that they don't want a whole bunch of negative reviews on Steam, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Clearly, the reason that they canned the Goddess Steam page, or one of the reasons that they canned the Goddess Steam page, is because it very effectively gets rid of all of the mostly negative ratings that they've got.
Yep.
And that's clearly doing badly for them. Like, somewhere there'll be a metric that they're tracking. I imagine it's in their, Steam back end in some way, where they'll say, oh, lots of people are visiting our page, but they're not downloading. I wonder why that is. And then some bright spark is going, well, because
everyone is telling them our game is terrible.
Yeah, maybe we should avoid that. Maybe we should.
I just imagine them being like,
should we phone the people who wrote the reviews?
Can we get in touch with Smokes Mad Blunt 69?
I mean, do we have his contact details?
Yes, hold on. It's 69. Oh, it looks like it's a joke phone number. Oh, Smoke Smash Blood 69. You are.
It'd be nice if Steam gave. It'd be nice if Steam gave developers that option, just to kind of, you've heckled me, I will heckle you back.
What?
No, just like phone them up and
phone them up and just be like,
is that,
why?
Is that Smoke Smash Blood 69? Hi, it's I'm a developer here at 22 Cans. I've just noticed that you've left us a pretty harsh review. I wondered if you wanted to explain yourself, or if I could do anything to help.
Well, I mean, if you could, I mean, obviously, I'm very busy pawning noobs online at the moment, so I'm going to have to keep this conversation quick. But
sure.
If you could, I don't know, just give me all of the video game for free. Is that? I mean, like you sort of vaguely promised.
Yeah, no, cool. We'll do that.
Is that? Oh, okay. Oh,
fine.
Fantastic.
Thanks very much.
Okay, no, could I just quickly ask a question?
Oh, go on.
There's a man on the internet who is a meme who you promised to be a god at one point during the entire campaign.
Yeah.
Have you got any plans on?
He died.
He
died. That guy. Unfortunate, horrible skiing.
But I've heard
skiing simulation accident.
But it looks like you've actually included him in the Goddess Wars update. I mean, I'm just downloading it now, and I can just see that he's in there. So
changed his life.
The money that you promised him.
No, we've changed his life, and that's as good as money.
No, but I mean, money does change your life as well.
All right, thank you, Mr. Blunt. Goodbye now.
Okay.
That was a lovely little.
Anyway, I imagine that's something
little radio play there. I very much enjoyed it.
I like that.
I'd like to point out that this whole debacle has led to two of the finest Steam comments I have ever seen.
Go on.
The first of which is more detailed, but the first sentence of it is, "Oh boy, I'm not even angry," which is amazing.
Yep.
Generous.
And the one immediately below it, if this Eurogamer article is to be trusted, just says, and this is literally all it says, and this is from a guy called Hardley, who I'd like to praise you for this, Hardley. I love the smell of betrayal in the morning. And that's all it says. And that's, oh man. I feel that it was worth it just for those Steam comments. Those are, that's some good Steam comments. I doubt
22 Cans feel the same way, but
no, but those are some pretty good Steam comments.
Yeah.
Now, I know it's always written as the number 22 in numeric form and then cans, which just seems slightly awkward from a branding point of view, because you have to make it very clear in all your written communications. No, you're not spelling out 22 cans. It's the number 22. No, but on the other hand, do you think are they just revealing that they've secretly got 22 cans?
Do you mean 20 toucans?
The bird, yeah.
As in 20 of them?
Yeah.
Probably not.
It seems unlikely, but...
Let's not be rash.
Well, maybe then.
Let's think about this.
Are they easy to tell apart from puffins? I feel they're very puffin-like.
No, toucans are very easy to tell apart from puffins. One's a sort of Arctic bird, isn't it?
And they both
very cold weather bird. A toucan's a sort of hot jungle bird.
I once watched a nature documentary, and
they are. No, you are correct. Sorry.
Flicking through the television and stuff like that. I was watching a survival document. You flip onto different scenes, and you'll be on Neighbours, and you're there's Harold or whatever, and then whoever's still in it, and then you'll
probably Madge is probably berating him.
Yeah, or Madge. Oh, they have such a hilarious relationship. You flick onto the wrestling, and you find someone being racist, and then you flick onto, and then I managed to flick onto a survival program. In the 3-second snippet that I saw, it was this guy breaking the neck of a puffin and then eating it.
Seems unkind.
And I was like, I'm just channel surfing.
You don't want that.
I don't want. It was literally imagine he just jams his thumb into his mouth and just goes, and I was like, I'm on my way to hopefully Cartoon Network and the SpongeBob SquarePants episode that I want to watch.
Yeah, we don't want to see. A snuff movie, a bird snuff movie.
Exactly.
In passing. Chris, it's quite possible you've been getting confused, but when you're thinking of toucans and puffins, you're actually thinking of the pedestrian traffic light systems, because there is a toucan crossing and a puffin crossing.
Is that actually true?
That is true. That is UK traffic, because pelican crossing, zebra crossing. You also have Puffin and Toucan in there, as well as Pegasus, but that's just usually used in race courses. That is not a joke either. That's actually true. So Puffins,
because it seems a lot like that's a joke. If I'm honest,
it would be like I would have been proud of that as a joke, but then I had to qualify it by calling it not a joke because it isn't one. So a Puffin actually stands for pedestrian, user-friendly, intelligent crossings. That would actually just be Puffy. Is that soft or hard to see?
Earn their marketing dollar that day.
Yeah. So it's different from a pelican crossing, as there's no flashing green figure phase. Yeah.
Okay.
So
that seems like an unnecessary difference.
So you got the red and green figures above the control box on your side of the road.
Yeah.
And you press the button, wait for the green figure to show.
Yeah.
Infrared cameras similar to those used to find earthquake victims trapped under rubble are being used to help people across the road. I'm not really sure how that
seems perhaps too advanced.
Attached to traffic lights at pedestrian crossings, the cameras extend the time drivers see red, so elderly or disabled people aren't at risk from oncoming traffic.
I mean, that makes sense.
Infrared detects how old you are. I'm not sure. The new smart, in quotes, system also uses heat sensors to tell if pedestrians are waiting on the pavement and can even override the red light shown to drivers if they've already got to the other side.
I mean, the downside of that is clearly if you've got lizards, you're fucked. They're cold-blooded. And they won't show up.
Your Toucan crossing, your bog standard Toucan crossing, which is, again, a pretty clever name because it's actually short for Toucan Cross. So it's two things can cross, and in this case, it's one of those crossings where cyclists are permitted to ride across the road with pedestrians. So that's
I've never really understood those.
Yeah,
I don't know why they're a separate thing.
Yeah, well, that's the difference between a Puffin and a Toucan crossing.
You learn something every day.
Yeah,
but it's not always useful, to be honest.
Yeah, what's Pegasus one?
So it's similar to any other light-controlled crossing, but in addition to providing for pedestrians and or cyclists, you also get a special provision for horses as well,
and flying horses, of course.
It doesn't actually state.
Well, then that name is very misleading.
Well, the light system is ground-based, so probably not.
I don't like the name then. I'm just staunchly against. Why are we talking? Oh, 22 cans. That's why we talk about this.
You started this.
Yeah, I did. All right, I've got myself to blame. All right, let's do the next bit, the what we did bit.
What we did. That's the jingle this week. You're welcome.
It's not like the real ones going in.
All right, fine. Whatever. What we did.
So Kevin and Peter, you both went and did Global Game Jam type activity.
Yeah, that's true. Not in the same place.
No,
where did you do yours, Kev?
Southampton University in Southampton.
Oh. I assume you were in Bristol?
I was in Bristol. I was at the Pervasive Media Studio portion of it, because there was also a portion, I believe, at UE, the University of West England. But yeah, Pervasive Media Studio was where it was at. Just did gang signs there.
Did you go as a representative for anybody, or what was your capacity there? Were you just a contestant?
Yeah, so I just turned up as a contestant essentially. So I decided I wanted to do it because I thought, well, that would be fun.
Making games is a laugh, isn't it?
Making games is a right laugh, mate.
Yeah.
And
from what I can tell, is you gathered a lot of people who didn't know how to make games.
Yeah, I mean,
so it's a bold strategy.
That was our initial downside. So the idea was, as a producer, you're not the sort of person who's doing coding. You're not doing audio necessarily or graphics or whatever. So you're sort of you're helping all of the people who have all of the talent make the thing.
Yeah, in the time given.
So I was like, right, I'm going to go and help actually get my hands in dirty and actually do it a little bit. So I got Jake Tucker from Vice, Danny Russell, who used to be the community manager at Pocket Gamer, and Tim Skew, who is a software developer rather than a games developer.
Mm-hmm.
And then we met with a fantastic artist called Tom Waterhouse, and who does all sorts of fun things, like he did the visuals on Skyscrapers. And we also met up with a really nice guy called Jamie, who is kind of like a student, and he wanted to do audio stuff. So, like, apart from Tom and to some extent Tim, although he doesn't have game design experience, yeah, none of us really had that much experience in terms of that sort of stuff. And then we made a card game with a physical physical card game with a companion app, a digital companion app.
Nice. So just to rewind slightly, the theme was announced on a Friday night, and it was announced 5 or was it 6? 5, something like that.
6
in the evening, 6 o'clock local time, all around the world, 6 p.m. So you had to keep it a secret on social media until I think 3 a.m. when Hawaii, who were the last country to get it announced, had it announced.
A lot of game development in Hawaii.
Big game dev scene. Such classics as Grass Skirt 3.
No, that's racism.
Whatever. Come on, shush now. Don't say these things.
Hawaiian game development.
I'm sure there's some great stuff coming out of Hawaii.
It's mostly coconuts.
Anyway, so the theme. There was a short presentation with a keynote from a couple of people. One about story and another one, and then after that they told us the theme for the Game Jam 2016 was, and it was about this sort of pace as well, so you can really imagine everyone was really eager. So the theme was ritual. Which is a bit more, a bit shorter than the previous couple of years. The year before that was what do we do now? And before that, it was like, it's not.
I like how existential "What Do We Do Now" is.
Heartbeat.
I forgot what.
Heartbeat was the year before that.
No, I thought it was. There was another sentence-based one. GG Jade 2014 theme.
While you're looking that up, so Hawaii game development. There's LB Games, makers of Left Behind, based on the New York Times best-selling book series. Never heard of it.
No.
There is Blue Mars, who make 3D virtual world.
Good.
I don't know what this is.
Mm.
It looks like sort of Second Life, but not as good. And then there's Blue Planet Software. Now they actually are relatively famous. Do you care to guess what license they have access to? Basically the really, really big thing that they own the property rights to.
How big is it?
Is it DC Universe Online?
It's not, unfortunately. So you've lost your chance to guess.
Damn.
Chris?
Is it Smurfs?
It's not. You've both completely balls that one up. They are the exclusive agent for the Tetris company.
Wow, that is actually fucking
That's
huge.
pretty big.
That is
so it turns out big games out of Honolulu.
Yeah.
That's what you get for your mockery, Kev.
So Global Game Jam 2014 theme was, we don't see things as they are, we see them as we are. So, yeah. Also, yeah, fairly existential and deep. And so, yeah, it was strange to go from that to then, what do we do now, to then rituals, or ritual. But anyway, so everyone was very excited. You know, all the chatter had begun. Well, I was at the Southampton Uni as part of a team of 4 professional game devs, sort of representing. We were one of the silver sponsors for the event, and so we were sort of there representing and giving guidance to the young students. And we gave a little talk on surviving a game jam before the whole thing kicked off.
Yeah.
So once the theme was announced, everyone sort of muddled their way into the computer labs at the uni, and me and the guys from the team went to the pub and to think of our idea. Meanwhile, in Bristol,
that's you, Peter.
That was my. I mean, we're telling the sort of narrative jointly, so I thought I'd. Yeah. If you want to just jump in.
Yeah, right.
Great.
Can't think what else to say.
Well, what game did you make? What was your idea? What was your, how was the brainstorming process?
All that sort of seems key. So far, you've basically told us you've got some people.
Yeah.
It seems like there's a stage after that.
To be perfectly honest with you, I was just kind of mesmerised at the idea that you were like, oh, we went to go down the pub. So that would have been quite enjoyable. Did you make the game there?
Effectively, yes.
Sweet. Okay.
You just get into like a lock-in at the pub, and you're like, it's this weird game jam lock-in.
We didn't do any actual creation, but we did art design at the pub, yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. So the kind of game that we made, so ritual was the thing. So we came up with this idea of what is a ritual, what do we do every day, and, what is it that do we want to avoid it, do we want to keep doing it, that kind of stuff. So we made a game called Gravity Academy, which was about...
Good name. Solid.
It is a physical card game in which you have to go to lessons and do really well in a space school in the 1950s retro vision of what the future would look like.
Okay.
And you get into those lessons and you compete with your fellow players for commendations, and then the person with the most commendations at the end of the game wins, and is sort of seen as like, the brightest and best amongst the future people. And as I say, yeah, it's a physical card game. The interesting element of it that kind of included a digital element. Not that you'd have to, because obviously Global Game Jam, you can go and just make a non-digital game. That's no problem. Although I would argue it's a bit more tricky with that stuff, and I don't think it's very likely you'll win, because actually explaining how that game works is really tough. And
kind of presenting it and sharing it with people.
Presenting it's kind of, it sucks. But anyway, so the thing that made it interesting to have a digital companion, and it is kind of crucial, is that it does all of the setup work for you. So we had this idea that you would have different classes, and you would have different, essentially, like resources you would have to pay to do well in that class, and it randomizes those things for you. And then there are little events that go up that fire off and say, oh, actually this is worth this, or oh, you get to pick some more cards. And then it's called Gravity Academy because there's a card in it where you pull the gravity switch and it just dicks everyone else over on the round. And the idea is you've got to tell whether or not somebody's using one of those gravity switches, and it's quite good fun. And what I really like about these, I think, is that you can go and play other people's games now. Like I can go and download yours. What's yours called?
Actually, I could send you guys the link because it's a multiplayer game.
Okay.
You could give it a go now, really.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well,
okay. So the idea behind the game is you're an exorcist team, where one of you is the exorcist and one of you is the researcher. Right. Again, we've done a companion app in ours, and because they release a whole bunch of diversifiers, which I read out last week on the podcast, so I won't read out again. No. But one of the things was to make a companion app, which we both seem to have gone with. So the idea was, you, as an exorcist, you have the ability to dispel demons, to exorcise demons with the power of words, but you don't know any of the words needed to exorcise the demons. But as the researcher, you're in the opposite situation. You have all of the words and none of the power. So you act as an exorcist team, and it's all about human communication between these two players. So there's no networking involved. It's all human networked. We'll take a quick pause now, get these guys to play the game, and then they can come back and we'll all talk about it.
What do you want? Which one do you want to be?
I'm the researcher one.
I'll be the exorcist then.
Okay, so Kris, you'll need to describe the name of the demon and what element it represents to the researcher.
So it's Adranus, Adranus. It's fire by the look of it.
Not going to have that much time left now for all that describing.
No, it died. Fontus, it looks like it's water.
So then...
okay, now what do I do then?
You say what the funny phrase or words underneath the name are, back to Kris, and he types it in.
Gone. It's Emesh, it's plants, earth, something like that.
Emesh?
Yeah, Emesh.
Rocks to sand.
So then Kris types in rocks to sand.
Yeah, I win.
And saves the soul. You don't win. You've saved one soul.
How do I win?
Scarion. And it's
you're on a team, so you win if Kris wins.
Is it gas, pollution, something like that?
Yeah, one of the basic elements, pollution.
Scarion. Skei and it's done. Time's up. I saved one soul.
In the air tonight.
Too late. Oh. You're not quick enough.
So, if you wanted to reverse the role so you could see what the other person would see.
Let me see what that's.
All right, I'll be a researcher.
Just download this again. I'll be the exorcist. Hold on. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Skyron.
What element? What's it look like?
I don't know. What a little scared man.
No, behind it.
Oh, he's a man he's got gas and he's big eye. Oh, he's gone. I got Zephyrus.
Okay, what is it?
Gassy man. With an eye again.
Somebody light a match. Again.
Somebody light a match. See, speed type. Somebody light a match.
Oh, it didn't work. Okay, Agni.
Okay, what?
It's fire.
Agni. It's Bring Me Flesh.
I did it.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, that's cool. Oh.
Have you got sound on?
The Jackowitz, yeah.
Oh,
because it's all about sound.
It's fire. Jackowitz is fire.
Okay, Jackowitz. Backfoul Beast.
Oh, I put a hashtag in.
No, it doesn't, yeah.
All right, well, that was fine. I like that, actually. I quite like that a lot.
I like that. I like that as non-conventional multiplayer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I like
good.
that.
It suffers mostly from being quite difficult to explain.
Yeah,
I think that's its biggest downfall.
And actually, that's the thing I learned about Global Games Jam. Like, it's all very well and good to make a good game. Like, I think that if you get a chance, like, go grab Gravity Academy. Like, it is quite good fun, but like, explaining it was just so difficult that you've got 5 minutes and then you're like, right, now we'd really like you guys to play. Time's up.
Too late. We're already looking at something else. Bye.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's kind of interesting, and you have to, I guess, factor that in from the very start. Do you know when you sign up at Global Games Jam, it says, what are your skills? And one of the things is marketing. And I thought to myself, why would you ever turn up and like be the person who does marketing? And actually,
it's actually quite a good thing to have on your team.
Yeah. Unless you make, because you either need someone who is very good at explaining stuff or a very simple game. And that's those are the two ways you can go.
Yeah.
In terms of marketing for our game, like the sound design was a big part of our game. And I brought a Bluetooth speaker with me, and had that playing fairly loudly. So the sounds of the demons dragging the poor little souls to hell, and the God Hand, the sort of choir as the God Hand rescued them, was bringing a big crowd around. So it was good to have like a whole bunch of people watching and laughing at the funny words, because after you've typed a successful chant, it says it in like big, powerful
it was really
summoning voice. I did all of the sound. That was another diversifier, was to do all of the sound using just your voice. So that was the whole game was just my voice. And I recorded all of the sound just at the desk where I was with all of the other jammers around me. And so particularly with the being dragged to hell scream, made quite a lot of very tired students jump quite significantly with that one. Because I just went full on top of my lungs scream. I did warn my immediate bank of desks that I was about to do it, but anyone slightly further afield, quite shocked. I had to be like, I'm all right, it's fine. Just being dragged to hell here, nothing to see. Move along. Yeah, it was good fun. We had a good time. Like, we, as a professional team, we felt the pressure of having a finished and good project.
Yeah.
Like, especially because we'd been mentoring people as well. Like, we spent the Friday night not actually doing anything on our own game. We were just going around to each team and seeing like how they were getting on, what their idea was, and just trying to get them to think about it in a more games development way. Because a lot of the students are computer science students. Like the vast majority, I would say. And so many teams were just jumping in tech first and like hadn't really thought about what their game design was. To the extent that like one of the teams, I was like, so what's your design? And the guys like showed me a piece of paper with their class designs on it. Like, I was like, no, I don't mean sort of technical. I mean, what's the game? And they'd got as far as it being like a multiplayer maze chasing game. And I said, okay, so have you thought about kind of how you don't just end up with a stalemate where you're running around the opposite ends of the maze at the same speeds? Like, does one player faster? Is there things you can do to trap the other player? What happens when you reach them? And like, they didn't have answers to any of these questions. And
that's not good.
And yeah, and I wasn't there to judge, but I was just saying, like, I think you'd probably get quite a lot of value out of if everyone just like, because they'd already started coding this game that they didn't even know what the game was. And I said, I think you could probably all benefit from like shutting your laptops, huddling around a table and just like trying to go through exactly what your game experience is as a player. Like, I'm sat down at my game, what happens? And like that sort of thing.
again, like, to call upon like my experience of GGJ and like just general everyday life, like that's, I think, the biggest difference between the teams that do well either in a global games jam or just generally. Like it's that communication, it's that level of, if everyone has a pretty good idea of what the game is going to look like in the end, and everyone's sharing that vision, then it means that you don't go off at the deep end and have somebody saying, "Oh, but I thought we were going to include MMO elements," and then you're like,
"I spent my entire 48 hours doing network code."
Yeah,
no, Jeff, we're making a card game.
Yeah, it's fun stuff like actually understanding what that is, and then every couple of hours at a global games jam, or maybe every couple of days in real life, like having that ability to go back to one another and say, okay, so this is where we're at with the thing. Oh, that looks really good. Oh, that could do with a bit of a tweak. Oh, brilliant. And then all having a lovely time.
Yeah.
There
was one team who had already fallen out, and it was Friday night.
That's impressive.
What?
Yeah, they actually came over to me and they were like, "Do you mind if we have a word?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, cool. I was just coming to you next, actually." So I went over and they said they'd had this idea. And actually, it was one of the ideas that we discarded, because our two other main contenders for game ideas was an OCD game where you have to like check the lock a whole bunch of times before you can leave, and like, because that's rituals, or like alternatively bird mating rituals, like Birds of Paradise doing ridiculous dances.
That's good.
But we discarded both of those ideas. But this team had gone for a Bird of Paradise mating ritual game, so it kind of worked out well that we didn't.
Yeah, I like that.
Sort of step on anyone's toes.
I like that as an idea. That's a neat idea.
Yeah, it was our strong second contender. So anyway, but they'd had a disagreement about like what the game should be, I guess. Like they had a kind of Simon-esque idea where the female bird does a dance move and you've got to do a dance move back. And they were like, yeah, but that's a bit boring. So they also invented like this chasing segment of the game where like you had to catch the bird first before doing the dancey bit.
Yeah, okay. It's a bit rapey, but yeah, go on.
Yeah, a little bit. And so, but they were sort of arguing about like which bit was more important and what. And I said to them like, so what elements can you share between these two sections of the game? And they're like, oh, nothing really. They're like two mini games, two different little games. I was like, yeah, you've decided on two games.
So it's a bad idea.
It's hard enough to make one game in 48 hours. Don't try and do two. And they were like, yeah, but we just didn't think that the like dancing memory bit was very fun. And I was like, the answer to that isn't let's make more bits.
It's
the answer to that is work on that bit until it is fun, or like try something else.
So we've got a bit we don't think's fun and a bit we think's fun, and we're going to make both of them. Like maybe make the bit you think's fun. Let's do that one.
The problem was that this was one of them's opinion, but not the other two's opinion. So like they couldn't agree on which was the fun bit, and had subsequently fallen out about it. The guy I was speaking to, his body language, like his arms were crossed, he had his back to his teammates, and like, yeah, it was, and I said like, you guys need to get on the same page about your game design, because if you're not excited and together at the start, like, it's a stressful thing to do to make a game in 48 hours. You need to at least start it as friends, because otherwise things might not go so well. So I suggested that they actually focus on one game rather than two, and like just like don't even start making the game tonight. Like just watch a whole bunch of stupid Birds of Paradise on YouTube doing funny sex dances, and like just getting excited and enthusiastic about the idea of it, and like find the fun in it. Yeah. And see if you can make a game out of what's actually, what the ridiculous parts of that are.
I think that's so right. And so the day before we did the Global Game Jam, there was a really fun talk at Bristol Games Hub, which is basically like this small little collection of indie developers. Like there's one up in this, it's like it's a games hub. It's like an incubator sort of type kind of an affair. And they run these talks for the Bristol games scene, and one of them was on like preparing for a game jam. And I think what was really interesting is that one of the people who owns one of the companies here basically just said, I'm going to the game jam tomorrow, and I'll be there on the Sunday, and I'm not going to compete, but I'm going there, and if I see that like there's a team that's working really, really well together, and they're all totally solid and stuff, it doesn't matter if they win or not. But if they can all get together and all make a thing at the end of the day, there's a great chance I'll look at one of them and go, actually, we could use one of you on the team. Because you look at these people and you know, in a game jam, and you say, if you can make something interesting in 48 hours and still all be mates at the end of it, then you're a team player, and you're probably the sort of person who's going to do quite well in the games industry, where you have to, like we were talking about Molyneux earlier, right? Like, there's this idea that Molyneux it's just him sat there making the games. And it's like, no, like, there's 50, 60 people behind him.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
you know, and it's such a collaborative process.
Yeah, and that's not talking about like when he was doing stuff like Fable.
He's also, I think Molyneux's an excellent communicator as well.
Yeah.
Like, I've been at a talk that he's given and been totally swept up by him. I think it was about Curiosity at Eurogamer, and just like came out going, that just sounds like the best thing ever. Because his infectious enthusiasm is just like kind of permeates everything he does, and so you need that guy. Yeah,
absolutely, and working as part of a team is crucial. It's like the Assassin's Creed team is up to like, I think I heard it was up to like 1,100 when it gets like the final quarter of development. Wow.
And spread across continents.
Yeah, and spread across continents. And this very idea that, you know, but I wanted my idea to go in. It's like, it doesn't really matter. Like, you just make the nice thing. It's about the
greater good.
Yeah, it's about the greater good and getting on with everyone and making the nice thing and making it as good as you possibly can. And it doesn't really matter if it's not your idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Needless to say, the bird ritual mating game wasn't the best game at the particular.
I'm shocked.
Game jam.
Shocked.
That's a shame.
Yeah, it's a shame.
You know,
but they did manage to make it through to the end and have a game at least, rather than
exactly.
not being friends.
And I guess that's the other really fun thing about GGJs, right? Like, you learn all of that stuff before you go into the workforce.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And one of the things we were trying to preach as much as possible is like eating right and sleeping could not be more important in that. Like, it's so tempting to just like power it through the night on like Saturday night or whatever, or even Friday night. Some people stayed overnight on Friday night. But like, you're only going to make things worse.
Yeah, I would have been very tempted to spend the whole time just preaching, have you tried the Unity Asset Store? It's very useful.
But it's like you know, when you, again, it's one of those things of, you can see those people who think, oh yeah, like, this is what the business is like. It's all about crunch and it's all about staying as long as you possibly can. It's like, no, go home, sleep, for God's sake.
Because I am occasionally at work late, and it gets to about 8 o'clock, and you're like, I can't do any more because my brain stopped working.
Your work will only suffer for pushing yourself that hard.
Yeah. I could sit here for 4 hours and tap away and make no code happen, or I could go home, see the people I love, and come back feeling great.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And some people managed to follow our advice. Actually, we followed our advice pretty well most of the time. We were back at the hotel by midnight each night. Unfortunately, we were at the Ibis Hotel in Southampton, where there was an unfortunate cohabitation issue. Some of the guests there were
go on,
sort of. I don't want to cast aspersions, but it seems like they were coked up and wandering the corridors,
right?
Shouting and banging on doors.
Cool.
So not the best night's sleep I've ever had, unfortunately. I almost wish I'd been coding all night, because at least then I would have been doing something. But, you know, hey, what's a little missed sleep among friends at the time when you need it the most? No, it's fine. Hopefully they'll find those guests and I'll have a sort of smug satisfaction. I treated it because these guys were outside, literally outside my door from about 2 a.m. when they got back to the hotel. And there was these intermittent periods every 15 minutes or so, just enough time to think they've gone away and stopped and you can go back to sleep. Then they start up again, sort of laughing and banging on, I assume, their friend's door. But their friend clearly wasn't letting them in, so I'm not really sure what the situation was. And at some point, I assume also another guest came out and asked them to shut up, because it changed from sort of hyena-esque laughing about stupid jokes to like, all that stuff instead.
Did you go and say something, Kev?
No, I very much fear conflict, so I didn't even phone reception, which is what I should have done, and what I was thinking about doing when I was lying there in bed, but the phone wasn't within arm's reach of the bed, so I had to get up. And I think like when you're kind of trying to sleep, you're doing anything you can to just like force sleep, which obviously will never work, because forcing sleep is kind of an oxymoron. But like if I were to get up and use the phone, then I'd definitely be awake, sort of thing, even though I was definitely awake anyway. So, but there was still this continued from 2 a.m. the entire night, and they were still outside when I left my hotel room to check out on Sunday morning
that's
at about 8
weird.
o'clock. So which is what makes me think they were probably coked up or something, because they had some serious stamina. So yeah, credit there. But I fight with my words, don't I? So I think the family motto should probably be something like sarcasm in the face of adversity. But yeah, as I walked past, I was like, "Cheers for a good night, guys," which is always a sensible move, isn't it? Just
What did they do?
Well, my friend and colleague Antoine, who's a lovely Frenchman, who happens to know the martial arts Krav Maga. Are you familiar with Krav Maga?
Yeah.
Is that the one with the brolly?
No, Krav Maga is an Israeli martial art that isn't really about being flashy. It's most about punching people in the face.
It's more just about ending the fight before it even begins. It's your Jason Statham of the martial arts world.
It's very much developed because it was developed by the Israeli military. So there's not a lot of look how flashy it is. It's mostly I'm going to hit you in the face with my elbow and break your nose.
How quickly can I put you down?
Yeah. I mean, it's worth looking at some Krav Maga YouTube videos, because it's stunningly fast and like brutal. Anyway, so my friend Antoine knows this relatively well. He's been doing it for a year or so, and he was just like looking for, because he's so gentle, he's such a gentle guy, but like none of us had any sleep, and so he said to them like, was it you who was making all this noise? But with a French accent instead of that.
He's going to do some Krav Maga on you later, if he listens to this.
And they were like, fuck off, mate. And he was like, yeah, well, you're a dick. And he's like, and the guy was like, oh, no one cares, mate. And then but they didn't physically accost him, because he was kind of thinking like, you just give me an excuse. But he would never use it for attack. Like, it's all about, self-defense and also there's cameras in the corridors of hotels, isn't there? So that happened. And then I came out of my room like 30 seconds later and did the cheers for the good night, guys, with a thumbs up. A little different approach, but I think it's still
equally
sarcastic,
venomous.
Yeah. But anyway, their response there was also fuck off, mate.
Except for the two people who've literally just walked past them.
Yeah, but then their follow-up response to that was, oh, well, you two like doing it up each other's asses then. Which was amazing.
You should just be like, yes, what of it?
It's fantastic.
How old were these boys?
Like early to mid-20s.
You're joking.
They were in sort of grey sportswear. I mean, I don't want to label them too much, but you can imagine the type. The type of person who would consider it a bit uncool if they were to use any facial muscles. So they just sort of let it all just.
Yeah, the sort of person who considers an entire packet of biscuits a reasonable dinner.
Yeah.
I don't know. I do like a pack of biscuits.
Yeah, but for dinner,
I've definitely done that. But I'm also very lazy.
You emote using your face. You're not lazy to the point where you can't be able to move your facial muscles.
I do move my facial muscles. There's muscles.
So muscles. That's the crucial difference. You like smile and stuff occasionally.
Yeah,
I've seen it happen.
Of humor.
Yeah.
Also, just don't do like bags of Coke.
Yeah, and then go and try and break into your friend's hotel room.
Yeah, that's a good piece of advice generally.
Yeah.
Don't do
if you're listening,
don't do as much Coke as you can find in a hotel.
Shall I do bags and bags of Coke, or shall I not? Take the not option.
Lots of this stuff.
So anyway, that was my game jam experience. Good, more or less.
It was just hatred.
A few. No, it wasn't hatred. It was just like that sort of desperation you get when you just have to be asleep and it's not being possible. And at one point I had a pillow over my head with my arm over the pillow. But then I was like, well, now I can't breathe, so that's going to immediately present a different problem.
Well, it will put you to sleep.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So that was a shame. But that aside, the game jam was very enjoyable. I probably never need to go to Southampton again. It was a grim, terrible place. It was also really grey and rainy, which probably doesn't help the presentation of any new city. But it was particularly drab as a place goes. Some special recognition, I think, should go to the team who made their Game Jam game on a Mega Drive cartridge with a Mega Drive that they had there. And that was like hardcore mode activate. And they actually got a really decent game out of it. They did all of the art and the sound from scratch, all in 16-bit chipsets and all this sort of business. Difficult. I wouldn't even know where to begin. But yeah, the game they made, it's quite a simple game, but like they made a game on a Mega Drive, you know.
And again, that's what I love about Global Game Jam. It can be so many things to so many people. It can be their first. You know, we were working. So our team was working with this, with this audio student, and this was like his first. He was like, he said like, I didn't think I'd get to 21 and have my first game. I was like, oh, that's awesome. Like, this is your first experience. And for other people, it's, you know, for you, it was like, you know, a professional experience and you know, getting it done and a good team bonding exercise. And for some people, it's the equivalent of like a performance piece. It is I am so shit hot at this. Yeah. I'm going to make a game from from a system that most of the people who are attending probably don't remember.
Yeah. Yeah, it was seriously impressive. And the winner of the People's Choice at Southampton Game Jam was pretty well deserved. It's quite an outstanding achievement. I mean, I don't know how from scratch they started, because it's just the level of polish on it is just incredible. But they'd made this game that was a sort of Indiana Jones style tomb with all these tiles on the floor that flipped over and had symbols on them, but you played as these kind of little orbs, and it was 4 Xbox controllers controlled, so it's local multiplayer, and you just had to roll over the symbols on the wall as they were matched by the tiles on the floor and be the first to do that and sort of push each other off into the lava and stuff. And it was just this kind of fun. I didn't actually play it, but it had a huge crowd of people around it, all sort of going, oh, and like getting really into it and stuff. And they won quite deservedly. So the actual presentation of it was outstanding. Like, it looked like, the 3D aspect of it kind of reminded me of like games from the early noughties or late 90s, when like Pentium 2s had just come out, and like they were like you were starting to get 3D into games and stuff, but like in a kind of cool retro stylish way, not like we don't know how to do 3D way. It was great, and thoroughly well deserved victor of the People's Choice vote. So yeah, Game Jam.
Well, I didn't make a game. I mean, I did, but that's not beyond the scope of what I am employed to do. So instead I played this game. It's called Hacknet. So I was a huge fan, probably 10 years ago now, of Uplink, which is Introversion's first game, and it's all about hacking, but in like a very of the time movie style. And Hacknet could be kind of considered an update to that, almost, in a sense, in that it's a much more realistic version of hacking, but it's still very much kind of along the lines of Hollywood hacking. So far, anyway, for what I've played. But I would say that Hollywood hacking has become a lot more realistic, kind of since in the past 10 years. It's not still nowhere near what it's actually like, but it's becoming better. In that they actually are like, here's what a command prompt looks like, and things like that, which this very much has. And it's got a much more intriguing story than Uplink had, because the Uplink story was kind of a little bit weird and didn't come to you till later in the game, whereas this is kind of interwoven right from the beginning. And there's heavily implicated that the guy you're talking to has, it's kind of like a last death. It's a case of death message, and it's a series of emails he's sending to you after you complete an action. Then you send him an email being back like, yeah, I did the thing, and he sends you the next email in the chain, which is, again, feels quite realistic, because you're just like, it's just an automated bot that if you ping an email back to it, it sends you the next one in the chain, which is quite nice. But I'm not super far into it, but I will say it's definitely a lot closer to what working with real network tools is like. Like it actually talks about open ports and the requirement for like, oh, you have to have at least one port open so you can launch your infection attack at it and all this kind of jazz. And it's not super deep at the minute, but I think it's going to get there. And it's less, because Uplink had kind of the weird, well, not weird, but had, in the context, was kind of weird upgradey mechanics where you could spend, like, you got currency for completing hacking jobs, because it was all like weird professional hacking in the future. And you could spend that like upgrading your PC, but your PC was like a virtual machine in the cloud. Well, not the cloud at the time, but what we would now consider to be the cloud. It's like a virtual machine sitting somewhere. So, which is kind of actually how stuff is now, but was kind of strange at the time. That you're like, oh, I just want more RAM, so you put more RAM in the thing, which now you're like, yeah, I just changed to a different instance type, and it had more RAM in it. It was nice. But, so I haven't discovered that. But what is quite interesting and amusing is you kind of get notes and stuff, and you've got a bar in your top left corner that's just the amount of system memory you have. And if you leave like lots of the tutorial notes open, they use up your system memory, and then you try and like use your hacking tools, but those want to use up your system memory as well. So you can't have the tutorial notes open and be hacking away at the same time. So you kind of have to manage what you've got running. And as I understand it, later in the game, that becomes almost like a puzzle, in that you're trying to find the right combination of stuff that you can have running at the same time without running out of system memory to achieve everything you need to achieve. And again, I've heard a lot of people talk about this game, and it sounds like it's going to get like super crazy cyberpunk. You hack into a system where you're activating a guy's brain scan and putting him into like a virtual environment based on his brain scan, so you can get information out of him, like super hardcore cyberpunk stuff. But for now, it's pretty vanilla. But I'm really enjoying it, and I'm liking this way that it's got command prompt. But because there's a series of games that are called, I think they're just called Hacker. Right. What they call them? Just see, because I've got them as well, but I don't like them particularly. So Hacker Evolution, and there's like Hacker Evolution Untold, and Hacker Evolution Duality. But with those are like just very pure command prompt, and this has got more. You very much have a command prompt, but there's other stuff going on, so it makes it feel a lot more accessible. And even as someone who uses like command prompt a lot, I don't want to sit there and play a game that is just looking at a shell. It's not enjoyable in any way.
Right.
So this makes it feel a lot more accessible by kind of having a mixture of, as a modern system is you have a command shell running, but you have other shit running at the same time, because some stuff's just easier to use in a graphical interface. It's easier to read your email if you've got an email client, and this game has an email client and all that kind of stuff. But I am very much enjoying it. It feels way more realistic than Uplink did. It remains to be seen if it's as much fun as Uplink was. I kind of hope though, because one of the things one of the issues I had with Uplink is I felt it became quite formulaic reasonably quickly. And this is so far as kind of edging towards that. Like, you're not having to do a lot of different things to gain access to these systems, but I'm also very early in the game, so I'm kind of, hopefully they add complexity as you go through it, because for now it's just a little bit almost tedious that you just like, oh, I just do the thing and then you do this thing, and maybe sometimes you did two things, but you're still like, I just did two things and then I have access to this remote computer system. And I think I'm at a point in the game where it's about to get a little bit more complicated, and you have to start like running proxies and all that kind of jazz. But yeah, I like it. I really enjoy it. It was, I think it's a little bit more now, but when I got it, it was like $6.99 in a flash sale on Steam, which is quite good for a game that I am enjoying so far. And also a game that reminds me of Uplink, which is one of my favourite games ever, I think. And I got to meet the guys from Introversion last year at Eurogamer to talk to them about Prison Architect, and I kind of fanboyed out a little bit.
Played it cool.
I was just like, I love your games. Well, because I wasn't expecting it to. I was told it was just with like their biz dev guy, who I've read some of his blogs and stuff. He seems interesting, but it was also Chris DeLay, who is like their head programmer and like founded the company, and a lot of it's his gameplay ideas and all that kind of stuff, which kind of caused me to massively nerd out at the time. Yeah, I don't think that made the cut to the actual interview that went out.
Did you kiss him?
Just a little bit, just on the cheek.
Just a little cheeky kiss, a friendly kiss.
I did, yeah. So I went for. That's all I went for. I kissed on the cheek, and then I did the handshake, but then you just pull the hand up, gentle kiss on the back of the hand.
Oh wow, romantic.
So I went for. That's exactly what happened. I'm not embellishing it at all. Right, Mr. Willington.
Yeah. Hi.
Do you want to pimp some stuff?
I feel like if I pimp stuff, it's gonna sound really fake and false and really bad.
All right, well, don't do that then.
Because you're really like actually quite ashamed of what it is that you're
hate these games that you're making. Are you an arms dealer?
No.
Is that the truth?
How dare you? Yeah. So, all right. No, I'm going to do it.
We basically mocked you into doing it.
Yeah, I didn't take that much
peer
convincing of
pressured
it.
you into pimping your own things.
All right. So, Auroch Digital, maker of amazing things. We've currently got a Kickstarter on the go called Elections of US America Election, the card game.
I like that you've kept the name there, like, very concise.
Yeah. We're doing that in partnership with Oneket, which is a satirical political blog. Fantastic, actually, really good. Oneket.com. Actually, well worth reading. Like, really funny. And basically, we've partnered with them to do a political card game based on the upcoming US elections.
Nice.
So all the traditional candidates are in there, like Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders, Donald Trump, Cthulhu. There's also...
Sorry, for a second there, it sounded like you said Cthulhu.
Yeah, that's right. Basically, there's a bit of a fantasy element to it as well. So, yeah, that's good. That's on Kickstarter at the moment. It's currently 50% funded, and it's got like 20 days left as of recording. So, yeah. So that's cool. And, yeah, we're working on a bunch of other stuff at the moment. Last Days of Old Earth comes to Steam on the 3rd of March, comes to early access. It's a hex-based tactical game being published by the wonderful folks at Slytherin. And, it's going to be pretty dope. I'm sure it'll get a 10 out of 10 on the Sixth Axis.
Wow. We don't. We're very editorially sort of independent. So for you to say that is, it just runs counter to. I don't have anything to do with it, so who knows?
So 11 out of 10, and so we're working on that. It's really like, I've been putting loads of time into that myself, like testing. And the fun thing about it is it was kind of inspired by Armageddon Empires, which is like a really niche strategy game from back in the day. And I'm sure there's like a couple of listeners who just went, oh, I remember Armageddon Empires. This is the game for you, basically, because it's that. It's got bits and pieces of that in it. But it's all looks lovely. And we're also working on a cool new game called Dark Future, which is with Games Workshop, Dark Future Blood Red States, and it is a car combat strategy game. We're calling it like action strategy. It's the strategy game action players will hopefully play. That's not out for months and months and months, but you can find out more on Dark
Again,
Future.
I'm liking just how concise you are. That's
Thanks
great.
very much.
I feel you.
Thank you. Well, it's, Dark Future Blood Red States. It's good, yeah. It's very evocative of what's going on. And we're also working on a bunch of other really amazing things, which I wish I could tell you about, because I'm, like, so excited.
Totally stoked.
Is it the next Halo? Or are you just making Halo?
Yeah. Chris. We are making the next Halo. No, we're not making the next Halo. When we've tried, but Bungie said no. So
it's not them anymore.
It's
343 Studios.
Oh, that would have been
That's why they said no.
Yeah, that's why Bungie said no. They were like, why are you asking us?
They were like, guys, you need to talk to 343, and we were like, but we want to talk to you because you've got a fun name.
Your name's not just numbers.
Yeah. But yeah, so we're working on lots of things. Definitely not working on the new Halo, which is a shame. I'm sure that'll be great. But there you go. That's my pitch. That's one of the things I have to do as a producer now. I have to pitch to people. It's really fun.
Just reel off a list of games. You're like, we're making all these games. Which one do you want?
I'm working on all these things. You want all of them. Buy them all. Yeah. They're amazing.
Yeah. I think that's what my boss does. It goes to places and says to publishers, would you like to publish one of these things we got? Give us some money.
Publishers are like, this game is amazing.
Yeah. Well,
can we give you some money?
Yeah, I do like money. And then he buys us Krispy Kremes.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm pretty sure that's how our business works. I don't know. I just make the games. I don't understand the rest.
Do you guys pimp your games on here?
No, because I feel that would be
conflict of interest, isn't it?
Conflict of interest-y. Just be like, you should play this game that I was employed to make.
I've only once spoken about a Zynga game even, and I had to put a disclaimer on the top of that because the company that I work for are owned by a company that are owned by Zynga. So, I don't want it to appear biased.
Like, if I went on someone else's podcast,
it was a great game though, Mountain Goat Mountain. Yeah. I don't think you ever played that. That was great.
But
Mountain Goat Mountain.
Yeah.
But when if I'm on another podcast, I
should add that I'm not being paid to say that. That is my own opinion.
What's it called again?
It's called Mountain Goat Mountain by Zynga.
Mountain Goat Mountain.
Yeah.
But if I was to go on another podcast, like, I don't know, for example, the In Retrospect podcast.
Don't listen to that. It's a load of old shit.
Right, okay. I would talk about the games I make, maybe, but not. Cool. I probably wouldn't talk about. Well, I can't talk about the games I'm making now because we haven't told anyone we're making them. We're in the process of making them, and so.
Oh, exclusive. Games company makes game.
company working on thing they're not allowed to talk about because of contractual reasons. Both of you will have to come on to the new. Well, I mean, you don't have to. I mean, I'm not.
It sounded like we have to.
But if you'd like to, we'll get you onto an episode of our new podcast in the near future.
That'd be excellent.
What's it called?
Well, have you come on? I can't remember now. We came up with a name for it. We came up for a name for it, and then we were like, "Yeah, that's a really great idea." We spent like literally a day like thinking of a really cool new name. We were going to call it The Great Indoors.
All right, yeah, that's good. And, that's a good name.
It's a great name, right? Some fucking pricks have, with a lot more money than us, have come along, and this is in retrospect, by the way, nothing to do with Auroch Digital. Some pricks have come along, and they've made a comedy TV series called The Great Indoors.
They sound like right arseholes.
Yeah, they are right arseholes.
Sound like it.
But yeah, and then I watched it. I was like, this is going to be... and it's actually quite good.
Like, fine, you can have your stupid name.
Shit. It's very good. So I recommend that.
That's the problem with good names. People have just... They steal them.
Yeah. People... Yeah, this is it. So we're going to come up with another name.
Right.
But we'll have you on it when we're on it. When we've done it.
Once you've made the thing...
Once
you're like, we're going to call this podcast. I've got guests. I've not got a podcast yet. I feel like I've done this the wrong way round. All right.
Well, no, I'd be more than happy. I don't believe I've ever been a guest on anybody's podcast. So
really?
Always the host, never the guest.
I've been on some podcasts. I'm on my brother's podcast a lot. To talk about stuff.
I haven't been on your brother's podcast either.
It's not as good as this.
Isn't it just about wrestling?
No, that's my podcast I do. That's just about wrestling.
All right. Is that just you?
No, it's not just me. It's not just me.
It's just you coming onto the microphone going,
It's not just... It's
been a giant racist this week.
It's me and Colin Barr.
Giant racist of the week. That's a feature you can have.
And sometimes it's Peter Chapman as well. Talking about wrestling. Being like...
Those two people are
being like, we like wrestling. And that's what it's like pretty much for 2 fucking hours. Just keeps going. And I'm like, we're going to keep this short. and then suddenly it's like 11 o'clock.
It's amazing to me that this is you that's saying this, because that's basically how I feel whenever you start talking about wrestling.
Yeah.
I know.
So
I definitely feel like Racist of the Week should make.
We're not doing
show.
Racist of the Week.
Giant Racist of the
It
Week.
just seems like that's an invitation to get sued.
Who's in prison today?
That's a better one, because like we can be factually accurate there. They can't sue us for just reporting the news that someone is in prison.
I would love a wrestling special where you basically just go through all of the ex-wrestlers and how they died sadly, or are now in some terrible
That's
jail.
grim.
So it's sort of like an anti-advert, like a public awareness campaign for wrestling, for like kids don't do wrestling.
Don't do wrestling, kids, because look at what happened over here and here and here.
I think
Joe spent a career in wrestling before dying horribly.
It turned out that
in a
Joe
ditch.
didn't realise that taking a chair to the back of the head every Wednesday evening wasn't a good idea.
Was detrimental to Joe's
it's not
health.
that. The thing is, all the wrestlers from like the 1950s and lots of them from the 1960s are still alive and they're fine. Like they're old men, but for old men they're kind of fine. And then you get to a point where there perhaps certain drug usage, perhaps allegedly entered the industry, and then it turns out that
what kind of drugs?
The wrestlers from around that period,
right?
they're not doing so good. The ones who were
mostly deceased,
possibly encouraged to take drugs by a promoter who may have been federally indicted for such, whose name might be Vincent Kennedy McMahon, but
Joe thought that choke slams were cool.
Yeah.
No, basically, I think the advice from wrestlers is don't just take a fuckload of steroids, painkillers, and coke.
Yeah,
it's probably not a good combo.
And if you're going to, just go to the normal place. You got there first, that's fine. You can have
If you could do that, go to the Ibis in the hallway next to Kev's room.
Go to the Ibis Hotel in Southampton.
Put down the chair. Imagine that. Mate, hold on.
They might have been wrestlers.
Kev, were you in the hotel in Ibis in Southampton, or were you at the ringside of Monday Night Raw?
Now you mention it. I mean, there was all the hallmark signs of. I'd never really considered it from this angle.
I thought it was a hotel, but
it was weird when the bell went and they started fighting.
People started wrestling and saying, "This is WWE Monday Night Raw."
Yeah. Because when you go to the hotel and you have to get under that sort of curtain at the edge of the ring to get into your bed.
Yeah.
I've never been to a hotel before, so that is normal, isn't it?
Yeah.
Exactly.
When you go to a hotel and you get picked up by a man in a mask with really weirdly greasy hair that you don't know how it got that greasy.
You know, like when JR and the other wrestling commentator, Jerry the King. I couldn't. Do you know, Chris? I was thinking of that person, and I was like, or is that the same as JR?
No, JR is good old Jim Ross, and Jerry the King Lawler is a old man who's filthy.
Anyway,
pervert.
you know when them two are like just saying what you're doing, as you're pottering about.
Do you remember when you get up in the morning, you go down to the breakfast bar, and you see the Undertaker?
Yeah. And how's Sarah? Or is it Sarah?
She's not his wife anymore. They're divorced.
He
had to have that tattoo
on his
removed.
neck. All right. Well, this shows my current affairs of wrestling knowledge. I'm so sorry about Sarah. Sarah, I'm never really sure.
It seemed rather awkward as an in-continuity thing that this guy who is meant to be an undead wizard basically had a tattoo removed. It just seemed very odd.
I've said this before, but I think the best part of his career was the Dead Man Walking phase where he came out on a motorbike.
Oh, the American Badass. That's what it's called. Yeah,
American Badass phase. Yeah, I thought that was his best ever character.
That's not accurate, but fair enough.
I think it is.
Why is he considered as one of the low points of his career?
Well, all of those people considering it, widely or not, are incorrect.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, most people making critical judgments on the quality of wrestling are probably in the wrong game.
Exactly.
I mean,
I can say this as an outsider. I can say this as an objective outsider, having looked at the facts
Yep.
This man is dressed up as a mystical dead wizard. This man is just riding a bike with some cool denim.
Yeah.
Like, I know which one I think is cooler. Yeah. That's all I'm saying.
It's true. I can't argue with that. I do find it odd though.
What's that wizard guy doing with his eyes? Why are they rolling back into his head like that? Gross.
I mean, if you're going to make me pick between Dink and Doink, I can't do it because the science is impossible.
But one of the things I always find strange is people are like, wrestling's fake, right? You're like, there's an undead wizard. His brother's meant to be a demon. I wasn't like, it's real. This undead wizard is also clearly fake. Real. That's a guy who controls fire.
You should just say, really? like just really seriously. Like,
what do you mean?
Are you? And see how long you can push them. Like, are you saying that Stone Cold Steve Austin wasn't buried in concrete? Yeah. Are you saying that those tables are actually quite easy to break?
It's just, oh man. Are
you saying Kane wasn't scarred up for his entire life?
Oh, but then he took the mask off, and it turns out they were just psychological scars.
I hated that. That was the worst thing that's happened to wrestling since Undertaker went
They
back
owned
to
a
being
Hollywood
the stupid
quality
wizard.
prop mask to put him and give him scarred faces, and they were like, probably be a bit awkward, wouldn't it? Like, no one really thought that through beforehand. Just like, we've got this Hollywood quality prop mask. Like, can he wrestle in it? Nah, not.
You can't really see
really.
it. Is that a problem?
Yeah.
Doing that was the worst mistake they've made since they turned Undertaker back into the Undertaker.
The problem with all of the Kane thing is they seem to be very indecisive about whether he wears a mask or not. I wouldn't mind, just pick one. Decide.
He was scary. The Big Red Machine, wasn't he? He was scary back in the day.
Well, recently, he had
hair. He had all that hair going over the mask, didn't he?
Multiple personality disorder, where he was corporate Kane, who was Kane that was, for some reason...
corporate Kane in a suit and tie.
Yeah, he was.
No,
he was.
That's not real, Chris.
That was real. It was Kane in a suit and tie and used to wrestle in slacks.
You're taking the mickey because you know that we don't know about wrestling.
This is genuine. I guarantee you this happened.
Excuse me, Marjorie, this paperwork isn't done. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Boom! Yeah. Straight through a table.
You're very tall for an investment banker.
He was the director of operations on screen, but then
that doesn't make any sense. Isn't he also meant to be like developmentally stunted?
Shh, don't worry about that. And then, but he's
got a great business
sometimes
brain. Great. I mean, he's been put through rings, but no, he's got a great business brain.
The problem that got a bit confusing is when he was playing that element of the character outside of wrestling, he's actually like a public speaker, he's quite libertarian, speaks about business and stuff a lot. But it got a little bit confusing because there were pictures of him in suits and pictures of him on screen in suits. And before it was quite easy. It's like,
which one's his real life? Which one's his pretend life?
Now you're like, I can't.
Well, is he wearing a red sparkly spandex suit, or is he wearing a business suit?
But now he was just always wearing business suits. You're like, I can't tell where this image is from.
Yeah.
But then he had this thing.
It was better that than he gets confused and brings his Big Red Machine to his day job, isn't it?
I bet like every
I imagine he has a day job. I don't know what it is, like just working in an office, stationary.
That's what I mean. He's the director of operations.
Meeting and stuff. Like he has like boardroom meetings every day in like his regular life, and like every day, like some smarmy Jack is like he's like, oh, hopefully you won't do a choke slam on me today. And everyone around the table goes, haha, and like makes polite laughter and stuff. And inside, it's burning Kane up, corporate Kane right up. Like he really wishes he could say something.
I could choke slam you right through this table, even though it doesn't have those hinges on it to make it look broken.
But then I would be like reinforcing the stereotype that you are saying about me, Jack. So I can't do it. It's really burning me up inside.
Really thought this through, Jack.
But he said he had this thing where a guy broke his ankle and he came back and he was corporate Kane, but also like Big Red Monster Kane was there sometimes, but you never saw him in the same place at the same time. And corporate
right, because they're the same person, and everyone knows that.
Kane had issues with his ankle, but Big Red Machine Kane, no such issues. He was fine. He came out of an ambulance, kind of shook it off, and they did do a quite nice crunching sound of him like popping it back into place. That was pretty good.
That's nice.
But the thing was, Corporate Kane would say amazingly terrifying things, just like, there's a whole thing when this statue got destroyed, and he wanted to be nice, so he bought the guy, like, found the statue and got the head, and in the box had a guy's head, like, from the statue, presented a guy, like, his own statue head. He opened up and was like, oh, what the fuck is this? It's like, I got the statue. I got the head from your statue. It's amazing what a man can do with a flashlight and a shovel at night. And you're like, that's both nice and terrifying. And it was great. It was quite amusing.
I think we talked about wrestling too much.
Yeah, I've got a whole podcast for that.
Yeah. That's how we got onto this in the first place, I think.
It's called By God, after the Jim Ross kind of thing, you know.
And is that JR?
Yeah.
I always thought it was My God.
No, by God, as God is my witness, he is broken in half.
Yeah, but I always thought it was like, oh
no,
my
it's
God,
by,
like an abbreviation,
by
like,
God.
my
No,
God.
it's by God.
By God, he is, as God is my witness, he is broken in half. Did he actually ever say that?
You sure it's not
it's
my
by
God?
God.
I'm not convinced.
It is by God. It is.
I mean, you can keep saying it. It's just, it's no new information to the table.
Yeah. Or things,
any questions
things
this
like,
week?
Stop the damn match. We did. We had a question from so we had three points from Lewis.
Okay.
Firstly,
what was for like quiz scores?
Firstly, Lewis would like to know: can you ask Pete? I don't know who Pete is. I assume he's Peter. Can I ask Peter, when can I come play some board games?
You can come and play some board games whenever you like, and we can hang out and drink fizzy pop together whenever you like.
He would also like to know what I've done.
That sounds fun. Can I come?
He'd like to know what I've done to my hair. Kev, would you like to give your thoughts?
Oh, Chris has bleached his hair blonde, and that sounds like a joke. But it is true.
Because I put that picture up on like Instagram and stuff last night, and I came into work and I took my hat off. My boss looked at my hair and said, "I thought that picture was a joke. I thought you just put a funny filter on it on Instagram."
I even told my wife that night, Chris has done a funny joke on Instagram. I said to her,
"No, I've bleached my hair blonde for the minute."
Good on
yeah,
you.
I might change it. It might go like a different color because it was.
Did you used to have blue hair?
No, I've never had blue hair.
I've
only ever had natural hair. It's the first time I've ever dyed my hair.
Have you considered now that it's blonde, it's the perfect blank slate for any new
that's
colour
basically the thing.
Was
I kind of wanted to bleach it because it was too dark to really dye before. But now that it's light, it will take whatever I want.
Although you should be careful dyeing your hair too soon after bleaching because it can make it just sort of fall out.
Yeah,
instead,
that's all right.
Or turn into a straw-like texture that breaks.
Yeah. Well, as I was saying to you just earlier, Kev, I believe my flatmate is a hairstylist, so he did it for me. So he knows all about that kind of stuff. He knows exactly what to do. He explained to me, in fact, why grey hair is more wiry and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, go on. I'd love to know that.
It's because it's just not got any pigment in it. That's why it's grey, is when it's got no pigment.
Well, I could have told you that.
The amount of pigment kind of relates to how like sleek and I guess luscious would be the right word your hair is, which is
I've got a lot of pigment in my hair.
Which is why like black hair tends to, you can always kind of get like a sheen on black hair. Because it's got so much more pigment in it.
This week, I don't know if my hair's ever been as soft as it's been this week. I've been conditioning it with a new conditioner. It's just amazing.
What's the new conditioner?
I wouldn't like to drop a brand, and also I can't remember mostly the second part of that sentence.
When you remember, could you like text me? Because I'm always on the lookout for new conditioner.
Yeah, I feel we've talked about hair enough now.
Oh, wow. So it's fine to talk at length about wrestling, but as soon as we get onto hair...
We could spend 45 minutes of a podcast talking about Triple H's hair.
Yeah.
Oh, I could.
Which we didn't do.
He is quite clearly
No, he's got really short hair now. He's shaved it.
Oh, what is wrestling anymore?
Sacred?
That's because he's also like a corporate suit now. But the interesting thing...
Do they just like file accounts instead of fight?
Next on WrestleMania, the tax year comes in.
The interesting thing is he actually is...
returns again.
It's the fiscal showdown.
Like, he's not just an on-screen character. He's actually like the vice president of talent relations. Like, that's his actual job. But also, his on-screen character is more powerful than his actual real job.
And he doesn't call himself Triple H anymore. He's called, his first name's... Wait, his last name's Returns. First name's VAT.
That's terrible.
Yeah, it's called VAT returns, like the financial
really just give up.
process. It's like it's something you have to do.
Give up. No,
like,
no.
If you're VAT registered.
We're going to do this VAT on the MAT.
Yeah. VAT returns this fall. There you go.
That's better.
There you
That's
go.
not great, but better. Yeah.
Fine, whatever.
Also,
don't even talk to me.
Lewis
No,
says he misses you, Kev.
I don't know who that is.
Last question. Germanus says, as we were discussing last week, Kev, did you make a lot of jam at Game Jam?
Oh, no, I made none.
It's disappointing. We riffed on that for a good 10 minutes last week. Probably too long, if anything.
So to keep it snappier this week. What with all the wrestling?
The wrestling talk. We really need to just wrap
that returns this fall.
Well, it's been lovely having you on this week, Peter. You've been a fabulous guest as always.
Oh, it's always lovely to come
hopefully
on.
we'll be able
Thank
to
you so much
return the
for having me.
favour for you soon once you've thought of a name.
You two are sparkling.
We do our best.
Oh, wow.
We do our best.
That's kind.
I make sure I always carbonate myself before the podcast.
Plug myself into a soda stream. It's pretty unpleasant to watch, but it does the job.
Yeah.
Just really gives me a buzz for the whole podcast. It's great. So slowly deflate from the entire podcast. So yeah, it's what we don't do in life. It's why no one ever sees it. You don't want to see me deflating.
It's worse to actually see you inflating.
Yeah, no, strange as well. Neither's good.
The nozzle has no business being up there.
Oh god. Well,
too far? Did I take it too far?
Perhaps too far. If you'd like to get other episodes of the podcast than that, you can go to TheSixthAxis.com where you can get other written stuff and videos. There's some of those
words and pictures,
videos, movie pictures, all of that. So it's all great.
All the content, all the time.
You can also go over to iTunes where you can rate and review and all that kind of stuff. You can go to Stitcher. You can go to YouTube where there's like a video version of this podcast, but
but it doesn't have any
like
video on it. I mean, it would have video.
It's just the logo.
I think
could you just use your face?
Have a new
Peter?
Feature where the listener suggests a picture that appears for 1 second during the course of the sort of hour and a half of the YouTube video, and the best ones win. So in between now and the next recording, send in your suggestions, and we'll try and get a picture of that. As long it has to be decent, it has to be within the YouTube
for example,
rules.
and not suggesting this, but Corporate Kane.
Corporate Kane. That can be how we start it off. Take a look. Keep a lookout for Corporate Kane on the YouTube.
Oh, I'm going to have to do that now, aren't I? I'm going to have to work out how to do that with my video. All right.
Oh yeah, sorry, Chris. Sorry, Lewis knows video stuff. He can do it.
He won't do it.
No, he probably won't do it.
I can guarantee you that. You can also get in touch with us by emailing us at podcast@TheSixthAxis.com, or you can tweet us at TSA Podcast. If you would like to get in touch with us personally, you can get me on Twitter as HalPro. It's HALB Pro. You can get Kev KevinTron400, and you can get Mr. Willington there as 000, but it's with an X instead of a Z.
All three times.
All of them.
Yeah.
You ever considered you should do 000, but with like an X once, a Z once, and then just a number 0 just to finish it off?
Might.
Too much explaining, I think.
I feel that would. It's just not really a snappy, like when you're giving your thing out, when you're giving your Twitter name out. It's not. It's just going to confuse people.
000. Cool. Is that just 3 zeros? No, it's 1 0. But not at the start. So start off with
There we go. And I actually got asked the other day, do you work for the company Zero? And I had to say yes. Because I wanted to impress them. Yeah, have you not heard of this? They're like a massive like accounting company.
Yeah, Chris, have you not heard of them?
Yeah, God.
I mean, I haven't either, but it's fun to jump on a bandwagon.
Have you not heard of Zero? Type in Zero and you get like accounting software.
So just a number?
It's accounting software.
You nearly
it's like my Twitter, but only one of them.
Yeah. I always thought of it as
no, I definitely have. I've even spoken to an accountant about Zero. I've just always
thought more of Xerox.
I use Crunch nowadays. Crunch rather than Zero. In case anyone's interested in my accounting,
not particularly, strangely enough. Anyway, that'll wrap this great podcast up. We will be back next week. I shouldn't call it a great podcast. It's very self-aggrandizing. It was great.
That fantastic hour and a half up. You are welcome. Good night.
You were very good, Peter, as well. We very much enjoyed having you on.
But
anyway, for now, say goodbye, everybody.
Ta-ta.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
The Sixth Axis podcast.